September 28th, 2018. Philadelphia Aegislash, my team, are sitting at 0-2 in the minor Pokemon League standings, towards the bottom of the league. With 5 games to go in the season, there's no time to rest, there's no time to prepare, you just gotta play. So what are we gonna do about it? We gonna sit there and get punched down over and over again? Or are we gonna stand up and fight? We are underdogs. The most dangerous team in any league is an underdog. Let's have some fun. What is going on, everyone? My name is NoPunIntended, and welcome to coverage of my Week 3 battle for the Minor Pokemon League. If you guys do enjoy my Draft League content, then please remember to leave a like or a comment, because that would be nice, and I would appreciate it. Especially because I'm really upset over how I performed in Minor PL thus far. 0-2 is tied for my worst start in any league I've been in, and I'd really like to avoid falling to 0-3 for the first time, especially in a league that only lasts 7 weeks. The way to do that is to win this game right here. We're taking on Rewt, coach of the New Jersey Brobats. His channel link is located in the description. He's what I like to call a league connoisseur, because he's in like 3 or 4 at this point, and meanwhile I'm in 2 and can barely handle the workload right now. Regardless, he is very experienced at the format, so we have our work cut out for us, especially considering the kind of team he has. It's very fast, but it has some incredibly fat Pokemon to back up the speedy offense, so we're going to have to be quite meticulous in our team building to find a way around that. So let's go into the squad, and I really want to give some credit to my front office, as small as it is. They really did help me out with the build for this week. Shoutouts go to Bronson, Omega Jolteon, and Horace for giving me the advice. Bronson also built the first draft of my team that I changed around to better fit my playstyle and my expectations for this game. With that out of the way, let's talk about the team itself. The first mon I usually put onto all of my builds is Zera. It's the kind of mon that, while it doesn't completely destroy teams all by itself, with the support that I have on my current roster, I usually have fun creating unique sets for it. In this case, the set I brought for Rewt is similar to the one I brought against Johnny 2 weeks ago, a Combine variant with an emphasis on its electric stab moves. It's running Hidden Power Ice to chip down Nidoking and Zygarde 10 quickly, and it's also my only way to hit his Steelix and Substrika with this mon. I can run Modest Nature to get some additional power while still outspeeding all of his non-Scarfers, and a lot of his more defensive Pokemon don't like switching into Volt Beam, so Zera was a very obvious choice as a win con. To better facilitate that win con, I brought Klefki, who was also a fairly obvious bring, and also is running a set very similar to the one I brought 2 weeks ago. Dual screens with Light Clay, Thunder Wave, and Fairy Stab. Again, Klefki won't get any kills, but that's not its job. It'll be taking hits from Ribombee and Mega Pidgeot, as well as putting up screens and paralyzing potential Scarfers to give Zera a better opportunity to set up properly. And this time, I hope to not let Zera take a hit on turn 1. But this is where the team deviates from the one I brought that first week of the season. I'm bringing Noivern for the first time as a pivot, but also to properly revenge Rewt's potential Scarfers. If he doesn't expect Scarfed Noivern, he may very well allow that Scarfer to stay in on it, and have to take a Stab Boosted Hurricane or a Boom Burst. It's basically a safety blanket against his mons with base 115 and 120-ish speed. Next up is Pinsir, who also can deal with Scarfed 115s and 120s. Once it gets off its Z-Me, first it gets +2 speed, and then outruns every potential Scarfer Rewt could bring. The tricky part with Pinsir will be picking up kills, but if I can snag one, I will get a Moxie boost, and hopefully I can wear something down with that. Pinsir also serves as my 1000 Arrows resist, so I can switch in on Abandoned Zygarde, and if it's locked into Outrage, I can even use non-Z-Me first to copy it and send that Zygarde packing. This may be the only game that Pinsir will show up to, and I'm hoping it proves its worth. Politoed will also be looking to prove its worth. It doesn't have to worry about being supportive in any way, because I didn't actually bring Mega Swampert or Keldeo. I was sort of worried about their Jellicent matchup, as Joey can adequately check both of them thanks to its Water Absorb ability. But with Toxic, Politoed can weaken the Jellicent to allow my Zera and Vileplume to better deal with it. It's running Rest plus Chesto Berry as a one-time measure to increase its sustainability and to force Rain onto the field. The Rain doesn't just shield Klefki and Vileplume from Fire-type attacks, it also resets his Torkoal's Drought ability if I bring it in, so that he can't really click Solar Beam as long as I have the option to switch into Politoed. But the main goal is to Toxic that Jellicent, or at least weaken it in some way. And the last one I brought was Vileplume, who along with Politoed wasn't on the original draft of his team, but I felt had too good of a matchup to just ignore. It's my best check to his Logant, Zebstrika, and especially Nidoking. From my mocks, I saw that a lot of people swapped Nidoking into Klefki, and if I got up the light screen on the switch in turn, I could bring in Vileplume and just live a ton of attacks. I can also Strength Sap him to reduce the power on his Zygarde and Steelix, and I just have to watch out for his flying types if he brings them. But with the team that I have, I definitely have answers for those flying types. Not that I needed to have answers for them, because looking at the 6 mons Rewt decided to bring, none of them are the Mega Pidgeot or the Vullaby, or for that matter his Nidoking. This definitely threw me off. What we see instead is the VGC-17 Suncore of Torkoal plus Lilligant, as well as the surprise appearance of Cinccino. I didn't expect him to bring so many of his lower point mons, but I can definitely see now why he did, especially when we get to the battle itself, which is going to be right now, because it's going to take a while to get through this one. Let's start at the lead matchup. As if you didn't already know that my game plan is pretty much a carbon copy of my week 1 game, I lead off with Zera Aura in a desperate attempt to Volt Switch out immediately. But I change my tune when I see Rewt lead with his Zygarde 10. I'm kinda worried about the potential for Zydog to be Scarfed, and as a result, I'm gonna scout out for that by switching into my Pinsir. But he switches out too, and he does it after me, meaning that my Zera Aura naturally outspeeds his Zygarde, and thus I don't need to kill it to get my sweep going. However, he's going to switch into the Cinccino, which is very interesting. Cinccino has the same base speed as Zygarde, and the fact that he would bring it in on a Zera Aura makes me think that this is his Scarfer. I can't be sure about the conclusion just yet, but whether or not he is Scarfed, I deem my optimal play to be the Z-Me first, which boosts my speed 2 stages. Unfortunately, Rewt does miss his first Tail Slap, which would have done over half, and what I really should have done here is gone straight for the knockoff in case he was Scarfed. The thing is, I didn't quite understand the mechanics of Z-Me first before I clicked the move. For some reason, I thought it got priority, even though I knew non-Z-boosted Me first doesn't have that quality. So a bit of an oversight on my end, but regardless of my misconceptions, we do get that +2 speed. And on the next turn, we will be able to move before the Cinccino and knock off its Scarf. He will get off about 70% on me with the Tail Slap, and I think he's going to stay in with this mod until the bitter end, so I just click Return here. I spent like 2 hours raising Pinsir's Happiness to maximum just for this battle, and all that pretty much went to waste because the incoming Torkoal takes like 20%. Ouch. I think my Pinsir failure here distracted me from my optimal play. I should have used this turn to knock off Torkoal's leftovers, since Pinsir is rather useless at this moment, and going for knockoff would have made Torkoal a lot easier to wear down. But instead, what I'm going to do is switch directly into my Politoed. It's my designated Torkoal counter. It takes any attack that this turtle can possibly throw at it, and I'm free to go for Toxic, as nothing Rewt has is immune to the attack. And he actually swaps directly into the Jellicent, which is fantastic. It's exactly the way I wanted to deal with it. Wait, never mind, we miss. I mean, I guess it's fine. It's not like I wanted Politoed to be the Mon to deal with the Jellicent, but now I don't really have much of a choice but to Toxic again. And Rewt capitalizes on that by going into Cinccino for another attempt at Tail Slapping my team in the face. And I don't have a resist for Tail Slap except for my Klefki, who I'd like to preserve if at all possible, so I like to go into my Pinsir and let it faint. A bit of a disappointing first performance for Pinsir. I was hoping it would be a bit more effective in its role, but Torkoal pretty much shut my set down. However, I can now get my Zera Aura in for free and Volt Switch. I suppose he was worried about what move I would choose to go for, so he makes the middle ground play and lets his Torkoal take the attack, which I'm okay with. Torkoal invites my Politoed in every single time, and there's nothing he can do about that, because Torkoal's too slow to do anything about that. So he has to switch out again, and Jellicent seems like an easy answer to Politoed. On the off chance he decides to change his strategy, I just go for Scald anyway, and I basically snipe the Cinccino. He probably thought that I wouldn't attack directly in fear of his Jellicent restoring its health with Water Absorb, but to be completely honest, I wasn't scared of it. I knew I could still Toxic it later on in the game, because while Jellicent is fat and can take a ton of hits, it's not going to win in this game as long as I keep my Zera Aura and Vileplume alive. That's my explanation for clicking Scald there. Now while that play does take out a huge threat on my team, it also invites my opponent to bring in his Torkoal and set up the Sun again. It appears that the tables have turned. I don't want him to go for Solar Beam on this turn, because now I can't set the Rain back up immediately. I have to go into something else first to take the hit, but Noivern does resist Fire and Grass, so even though it will take Rocks damage, this isn't a total loss, and what I can do from here is just U-turn on the incoming Jellicent, as my Noivern set can't really touch it. Kinda overlooked that little detail, but it's not like I don't have answers to the Jellicent, and I actually like to go into my Klefki to set up my screens. With the Sun out, Jellicent's Scalds don't hurt that much, so I felt comfortable doing this. Of course, he does burn me with Will-O-Wisp, so I don't get out of there completely unharmed, but I feel safer going into Politoed, I guess. But Rewt also makes a switch, in this case into his Zygarde, and I'm so tempted by the prospect of killing in one hit that I just go for the Ice Beam. In reality, there was no way he was staying in, even if I didn't have an Ice move to click. So it's whatever. And right about now is when I'm going to start to spam the fast forward button, because a lot of this stuff is gonna repeat after a while. I'm going to try to make some predictions around this Jellicent because based on the way he's playing it, I think he doesn't have Taunt, and that's actually really good for me because I have free reign to play Toxic, and something on his side of the field is going to get poisoned. And if he lets the Jellicent get poisoned, my team is in a much better position to kill his team because Jellicent is kind of the glue holding his defense together. So we're going to stall out all the turns of rain. This part is amazing because nothing actually happens even though we spent like 3 minutes in the battle. But eventually, he brings in the Torkoal again on my Politoed. I actually stay in for a turn, daring him to go for the Solar Beam as I Scald and wear down his Torkoal, but he just clicks Lava Plume, and Politoed can eat one of those, but I have to go into Noivern to take the next one since I consider Toad more important than Noivern. In response to it, though, he doesn't go Jellicent this time, but instead summons his Lilligant to the field, and with the sun out and its Chlorophyll ability active, Lilligant will move faster with my Scarf Noivern. I don't like that, but I do have a Vileplume who's a decent switch into Lilligant. It does, however, set up a substitute, which I admit is a bit worrying, because I don't know what his plan with his Lilligant is. Although it is a bit odd he brought a sub Lilligant against a team with a Noivern, but we won't hold that against him. Regardless, I really need to Sludge Bomb on this turn, because I don't want the Lilligant setting up Quiver Dances from behind the sub, and this is when he goes for his hidden power. At first I thought it was Fire, but he revealed after the game that he brought HP Ice, presumably for my Noivern, hence why Vileplume chewed up that attack. It's now very apparent that my Vileplume 1v1s this Lilligant by just clicking Sludge Bomb over and over, so Rewt will concede this matchup and switch into Jellicent. So now he's adopted my tactic of switching mons into attacks that are normally super effective and yet actually don't deal that much damage. Of course I go for Sludge Bomb, so that fact for now is irrelevant. I can, however, go for Giga Drain on the next turn, but Rewt immediately calls Jellicent back to its Pokeball and sends in his Torkoal again. So I'm kind of in a tough spot. I don't know whether Sludge Bomb deals enough damage to knock out the Torkoal, and Vileplume is still really important for my chances of winning. In addition, Politoed is at too little HP to be of any use unless I can get a free switch in on the Torkoal, so I decided that sacking my Noivern in order to allow that to happen is my optimal play, as Noivern can't damage his team as long as the Jellicent is still healthy, and I don't have a way to prevent it from taking Stealth Rock damage. The fact that he still has his Torkoal alive was the only reason why I wanted to keep my Politoed around, as it's my best way to reset his reign and limit how much his Lilligant can tear my remaining team apart. As long as I have my Politoed and it's healthy, I can just reset reign so that most of my team outspeeds the Lilligant. And I can go for rest on the Torkoal because it's so slow, and restore my health back to maximum while also getting rid of the burn, at least temporarily. Now with Rain back on the field, Rewt has to switch out again into his Jellicent, and right now I'm going to adopt a very strange plan. I'm going to wildly fire off random attacks, alternating between Scald, Ice Beam, and Toxic. The reason I do this is to throw Rewt off balance. I want him to feel uncomfortable bringing in one of his offensive Pokemon, and I don't care if I Scald into Jellicent and restore some of its HP with Water Absorb, because eventually the Toxic is going to take its toll, and Rewt will inevitably either switch out or let his Jellicent faint to the Toxic Poison. And he chooses the former option, bringing his Ribombee in on a turn that I happen to Scald. The Ribombee's health now sits below half, and Rewt sheepishly decides to let his Jellicent face tank the next Scald, but we're just going to get caught in the same sort of infinite loop. He can wear down my Politoed with Scald and Giga Drain all he wants, because if this Jellicent stays in, it will get worn down. About here is when I realized that Jellicent is completely incapable of threatening my Vileplume, as the best thing it can do with its current moveset is burn me with either Scald or Will-O-Wisp, his choice. From there, I just do the same thing I did with Politoed, throw off Giga Drains and Sludge Bombs indiscriminately. I'm trying to balance weakening this Jellicent with drawing in his Torkoal on a turn where he predicts me to Giga Drain. And around here, the Toxic is going to pressure Rewt enough where he switches out of Jellicent and into that Torkoal on a turn that I Sludge Bombed. Turns out Torkoal didn't have enough special defense investment to survive a single Sludge Bomb, so all that switching around I did earlier ended up being pretty pointless, but I wanted to play it safe with my Vileplume, make sure that I wasn't surprised by a random super effective coverage attack. But now that Torkoal can no longer set up the sun, my Politoed really isn't that useful anymore after it brings Rain back onto the field, so I let it take the attack from the incoming Ribombee. I'm trying to scout whether he's running Psychic to hit my Vileplume, and it looks like he isn't. That means that Vileplume can beat this Ribombee, and it also can beat the Jellicent. So there are two things Vileplume could lose to. One of them is the Zygarde 10, who deals 90% maximum to Vileplume with a Banded Outrage, but the other way I could lose this game is a fair bit more pertinent, and that's Timer. Even though I feel like I've outplayed Rewt thus far, he still has one more Mon alive than I do. If the Timer were to hit 0 here, he would pull out the win, so if I want to ensure a victory, I have to act fast. I decided to go into Klefki and click Play Rough. I don't know why I did this. I doubt it would have even killed Ribombee, even considering its lack of bulk, but Rewt can easily bring in the Jellicent to take the hit, so who really cares? Regardless, I do take this opportunity to set up my light screen and then switch back into Vileplume. And I'm sorry, this part is probably very boring for you with all the switch outs, but it got quite tense for me at the time, so bear with me here. After a long bout of doing absolutely nothing, Rewt switches into his Zygarde 10 and takes the Giga Drain. Doesn't even do half to it, which I'm actually a bit surprised by, but it's whatever. He is then going to switch out on my Strength Sap back into the Jellicent so we can reset the toxic damage. Yeah, you can tell this is getting kind of boring, isn't it? Rewt and I are both just going to stay in with our Jellicent and Vileplume respectively. Neither of us wants to make a bone-crushing mistake by switching out, so we're kind of locked into a stalemate here. The only saving grace for me is that every turn he stays in with Jellicent, his toxic damage gets worse and worse. But Rewt's going to switch back into Lilligant, and we're going to get that whole song and dance routine where he alternates between Lilligant and Jellicent. I don't really know what to say about this, but eventually we are going to get to an interesting point. Rewt swaps his Ribombee in on a Giga Drain, and it lives on like 3 HP. I could just stay in and attempt to tank a Bug Buzz, but that would mean that Zygarde could come in and lock itself into 1000 Arrows. I'd rather not have to sack my Vileplume if I can avoid it, since it's my most sturdy defensive Pokemon. So, knowing that Ribombee only has enough HP for one more Life Orb boosted hit, I instead switch into my Klefki to tank the Bug Buzz. Ribombee does go down, and now we're tied 3-3. The problem is that Zygarde is now free to click 1000 Arrows anyway and claim a kill, but at this point all my Klefki can really do is put up a Reflect and sacrifice itself. To win this game, I have to rely on my offense, and Klefki is going to help to facilitate that. But I have to play these next few turns smartly. Klefki only has one chance to get everything ready, and once that happens, I just have to go in with my win condition. Which means it's time for Zeraora to take the field. Of course, Rewt knows that I outspeed him, and he's not going to let that happen. He switches into Jellicent, and my first thought is, he thinks that I'm Choiced, doesn't he? I mean, I guess a lot of people do run Choiced Zeraora, but I find that a setup variant is a lot more fun to use. So what I'm going to do is click Calm Mind as he just recovers, and at this point I've put him into Checkmate. Now what I can do is just click Thunderbolt, and there's no way Jellicent can take a +1 electric attack from the Zeraora. I don't care how much special defense investment his Jellicent has, it's just not reasonable to expect it to take a +1 Thunderbolt from Zeraora. So it will faint here. He then switches into his Lilligant. He actually has a chance to live a +1 Hidden Power Ice, provided that I don't have a boosting item, but I have Expert Belt, so no way this Lilligant was going to take the attack. And the final mon is Zygarde 10. And with this next Hidden Power Ice, the Philadelphia Aegislash are going to get their first win in the minor PL, a 2-0 victory as it stands over the New Jersey Brobats. And my god, this game took forever. I am so glad that I don't have to do anything more with it. I'm just tired and done with recording at this point. GG to Rewt, definitely played hard, and he is the main reason why this game lasted 52 minutes. If he were any worse, it would probably last like 20, but he is a good battler, and not surprised that he's been successful in some of the other leagues, but that's not important to me right now. We are 1-2. Yay. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're excited for the Philadelphia Aegislash's first win in the minor PL. If you are, please make sure to leave a like or a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more of my Draft League videos. Check out Rewt's channel as well as those of the other coaches in this league in the description. And until I see you next time, take care.